Hey, everybody.
Darn it.
You are listening and watching the Daily AI Show. It is March 6th. No, it is not. It is March 8th. Today is our Circle Back show. It is where we go back to the previous 9 episodes and we talk about anything that has come up since we talked about it. And this may actually, so the logo or the splash screen that you see says, we just said, what about AI? We may actually be talking more about news that we didn't get to cover in the news shows, because when we got off the news show, we were like, wow, we only did a third of it. So we wanted to say what about AI before that we didn't get a chance to. On that topic, one of the big things that I thought happened that we did not get a chance to talk about was India's change in policy, where any company that is going to be using LLMs needed to register that with the Ministry of Education and Technology, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that was a big transition, and there were a bunch of people on Twitter talking about how that would add a delay in people's ability to innovate and do that in a startup time period in a really quick option. So that was my I should have said this. This seemed like a really big news story.
I remember that, and honestly, I can't remember. I don't want to say without remembering the actual reference, but at the same time, I saw an article about China, and China is like, come everybody, bring your needs and your. It's like a really interesting juxtaposition between both Asian countries to that extent, big Asian countries. One's like, you must have your AI approved. I forgot the actual language from India. My apologies. And then China almost like, kind of, we're open to letting everybody use it and we'll help you use it. I don't know the language of it, but did anybody remember the article about China?
There's another article about China that I want to talk about.
Okay. I think, Karl, we're going to be talking about the same article because it's around your favorite company. Go for it.
No. Go. I'll provide the commentary.
Okay. Good. All right. So this was an article that I really wish we had brought up. Was ex-Google engineer is charged by the FBI with stealing AI trade secrets for a Shanghai company that he founded, and for another startup from China. From my point of view, this is a really good indicator of how crazy the AI world is, because we've mentioned Wild West before. We've got industrial espionage, and so
he's being sarcastic, everybody, if you can't tell, because there's the trade secrets. You're going to tell him the trade secrets that he shared.
Well, no, I'll leave that to you. It's just the fact that we're getting this kind of story. Though I will say there was some key elements that came across where they were saying he transferred a couple hundred files to his own Google Cloud account, which I'm not sure if that was a wise move. But I think the crazy one was he had another Google employee scan in his security badge while he was traveling. So is that industrial espionage, or is that I should be at work?
Yeah, even though he was in China, running a startup that he founded over there and pretending that he was at Google and getting paid by Google to do that, it's pretty nasty. That's pretty espionage-y, in my opinion.
But there's an element of this also of the mob being caught because they didn't pay because like they violated the sending something through the mail kind of stuff, right? There's an aspect of this that is like, wow, we can't get you for the really big thing because that's complicated, it would take a long time. We're just going to get you to like you violated you had someone scan your badge and pretended you were working when you're not, right? Like that's the easier play, but certainly not the juicier
Al
play.
Capone for tax evasion as
Thank
opposed
you.
to crimes.
I'm just going to allude to shit and Jyunmi is going to annotate it.
Karl, I want to know your thoughts. Go.
Well, first of all, when I read about this, I was like, I did this back in like when I was like an intern. I was like, yeah,
What?
dude, just like hit my, because like
Allegedly.
not like that corporate espionage thing, but I was just like, yeah, I would imagine. First of all, let's say he was running a startup in wherever he was, China. I have a feeling sometimes he's like, I don't want to come into work, so dude, just hit me up. And like, because I used to do that, like, hey, because I was like one of my first co-op jobs, it was really this weird manufacturing company, and everyone had to punch in. So I was late sometimes, so I'm like, hey, punch me in, and we had to punch in for lunch. So it's like, hey, you got to punch. So we would like, me and my buddy would punch the others like card in. We'd like punch in. I would take like a 3-hour lunch. He would take a 3-hour lunch, and we just punch each other, and we did punch each other out. So that's when I was like, yeah, I was like, that's what this guy was doing. We just like combined it. I was like, okay, just kind of, that's just what it is. And then the whole funny thing was then uploading it to his, and it's been how many years was he doing this for? Like a couple, like 2, more than 3?
From May 2020 to May 23.
Yeah. And then uploading tons of, which then got me thinking, wait a minute, like if that's how easy it is to like, and maybe that's in the end, that's really how easy it is for any company. You can just upload whatever you want to, because everything's connected, right? So you can upload to your Google Cloud, especially if you're on their Google. Like a lot of businesses have a business account. Everyone has a personal account. So you just switch accounts, upload the thing. How many of us have Dropboxes or boxes that, you know, you switch one? I need to send the company inbox. It sucks, so it doesn't work properly. So I'm just going to send that. So how many employees have company documents on their personal clouds? Like, wasn't Hillary Clinton, this was the whole deal with the emails, right? It's like, oh, I just put it in my, so
okay. Hillary Clinton, tiny problem.
Listen to
former President Trump, giant problem with
no, but I mean,
personal storage of stuff.
Let's go back.
All presidents do it, and they just happen to want to try to tackle Trump because they hate him.
Trump is special and big in this category. Sorry.
And so is Hillary, but they just
let's go back to
I want to go back to prosecutors. So this is what they actually prosecuted Lingwei Ding for. He said that they were stealing information about the architecture and functionality of the system, pilfering software used to orchestrate supercomputers at the cutting edge of machine learning and AI technology. So he was in the AI. I mean, this obviously they're trying to make something out of nothing, at least for clickbait to some degree. But it does have some merit, I guess, as far as what there could be documents in there that are valuable, I guess to say, that might have some information. So, I mean, yeah, we're making fun of the fact that people clocked in for him, but the truth be known, he paid $14,000 a month by this Chinese firm, in addition to whatever Google paid him, which, you know, that's not pennies.
Yeah,
it's true. And if anything, it does highlight cybersecurity frameworks and things that you need to take a look at. I'm really surprised why would you use the same cloud computing aspect, where, like you were saying, Karl, where it was just being copied to the cloud with like, oh, you're in Google and you work for Google, so automatic base access without a problem. Like, okay.
With just one more point here. It's like, but the thing is though, so there's the corporate espionage part as well, but how many employees, and I know a lot too, who are technically doing 2 jobs, one in one job, one in another. And there's a lot, especially with the prevalence of like remote work. you could do 2 jobs. And I think like this
10.
person is kind of doing the same thing. 2 jobs,
Yeah.
one running one company, one working for Google. It's just like, the thing is though, like you're now taking your stuff from one and then using it to build your company, which I think if you look at it from a silo, it's like, oh, this person would leave Google and create their own company, which a lot of ex-Googlers, right, created their own companies and whatnot. But yeah, that the whole AI stealing technology and creating it in China, I think that is like dead serious. So that is pretty worrying, that, you know, and there is that arms race because it just, this is a hot thing, right? So yeah.
And China does not have a good track record for, you know, technology and what they're willing to do, the government based, you know, hacking that they are supporting. So that's a whole nother topic. So okay, so Louis, anybody else have new things, other things you want? Okay, good.
I do. I've got a few, but in the same theme, there was an X post by Nick St. Pierre talking about Midjourney and during their office hours, where apparently Stability AI used bots to try and grab prompt and image pairs from Midjourney. So so it, as a result, Midjourney has banned all of the Stability AI employee accounts.
Right. And the problem with this is used bots.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe Midjourney has stuff that you're not allowed to use stuff to train your competing tech, but you can the public images that are generated are public, not copyrightable. Those prompts are available publicly, not copyrightable.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. So how is it theft if it's...
Well, it's not theft. They just don't want them still. They just didn't like it, I think. I mean, they're not suing them. They're just like, okay.
I would say it's a break of the terms of the platform. Yeah. Because they're pretty clear about, hey, we don't want you to do those kinds of things. It just so happens to be a competing text to image AI company that's grabbing all of that info. And again, this is Wild West of AI, where AI companies are doing corporate warfare on each other. But another segue into a Stability AI story, finally into things that I really like, is they announced a Tripo SR in partnership with Tripo AI, which is a model that quickly converts a single still image into a 3D model. So, this tech goes as far as you can take a picture with your phone and just take that still image and then convert it into a model, and it can output in all the big, you know, standard 3D model formats like FBX and USD and all that kind of stuff. So the reason why I think this is super exciting is 3D modeling takes a lot of time, right? And if you just want to quickly put an asset, a 3D asset, into your workflow, right, of whatever animation that you're building out, or whatever maybe game that you're building, like Unreal Engine or anything like that, and it can simply just take a snapshot of whatever you're looking at and putting that in. And for me, this signals the start of holodecks. So from Star Trek. Because you can look at anything in the world, and then suddenly it's a 3D image that you can manipulate in any form of spatial environment, like your Apple Vision Pro, or, you know, whatever's going to come out in the next year or two. So that was a big one for me, and that leads me to, and I think one that's in the text to video arena is Hyper, Hyper. They are a competing text to video or competitor for Sora. So if you've seen their site or anything like that, there's a lot of really cool conversions and things coming out of that one. So those are
Nice.
the really big ones that I have that are somewhat related. I got a couple other ones,
right.
but you know, I'll let other people talk.
Andy,
I
you
have
got anything? Yeah.
Yeah, one of the big news items that we discussed was the launch of the Claude 3 family of new models from Anthropic. And I think we repeated, and lots of other people have repeated the performance measures that show that Claude 3 actually exceeds in certain measures in the performance metrics that are used to evaluate these models, exceeds ChatGPT 4. Um, and it's a brand new model. It's been trained on more recent data, and it seems to be dethroning. I mean, that would be the word that was used by a lot of observers, like, oh, ChatGPT 4 has been dethroned. Well, Hugging Face is the place where the community of users of the Hugging Face platform, kind of assemble and do evaluative analysis of various models. And it's also the place where these leaderboards are hosted. So the performance leaderboards for large language models are there. And I just read today that despite the dethroning of ChatGPT 4, about 100,000 Hugging Face users doing their own evaluations and scoring them that way. So human evaluations of the quality of output kept GPT-4 ahead of Claude 3 Opus. So maybe they haven't, really, changed the game so entirely. But it is a wonderful thing. I think it's important to point out that Claude 3 Opus is arguably a less expensive alternative that's essentially equivalent.
Right.
So anybody who's using API access to Claude 3 and or ChatGPT 4 in their operations, now you have lots of different alternatives, and it's not a simple answer to just say, okay, just use ChatGPT 4 because it's head and shoulders above the rest.
I think, like, just to build on that too, because I think was it today or yesterday that Inflection released Pi,
2.5,
like,
Yeah.
0.5. So we have all these models now that are close to similar around GPT-4, right? But what's funny is GPT-4 was launched last year, March. So I think, like, there is a welling or buildup of people wanting to, hey, what is, because it's all this, it kind of is all the same. And whether you like one or the other, people saying, oh, I stopped my ChatGPT account and I signed up for Claude. I'm like, okay, cool. It's just, I think we're now just waiting. I think now it's the big waiting game. Everyone's kind of caught up in their own form or fashion with some features here and there. Now we're just like, okay, what is really the next big leap? Because I think that's the wait. And I think all eyes are now
it's probable that it's going to come from OpenAI.
on AI. Yeah,
Right.
that's the big wait.
Right?
Let me.
It's interesting because like Claude can now do images, yay, but it doesn't, and it's supposedly better in terms of code, but it can't write and run its own code like Code Interpreter can in ChatGPT, right? I would say that Google's Gemini being like a true multimodal, that we don't have access to the part. I have access to the part, but the general public doesn't have access to the part that you can put a video in and then engage with the video. But that I think is really interesting. That no one has equal, like they may be equaling on reasoning or math or those kinds of things, but no one has really gotten to the place that OpenAI got to with GPT-4 in the features that it has. And that's the old tech, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like, and considering red teaming time, right? Like that's a year and a half, 2 years old tech.
So we're just all counting down the days until, like,
Right.
it's all exciting about the higher level reasoning, because even all the applications that are built on all these tools, I think they are all limited by, the ceiling that is GPT-4 that it's provided. So what is that next wave? Because it's not the actual LLM that I'm excited about. It's that wow, what can you build now on top of it that you're kind of limited to the functionalities of GPT-4, right?
I think what you're on about, and I'm gonna jump in here because I think that what y'all are talking about is the commoditization of what we're talking about, because everybody's reaching a similar point. All the boats are rising to the same level, to the point where, like you said, Andy, there's not going to be differentiators. You're going to be able to put them all in the same bucket and say which one's cheaper. So that's good. I love competition. Same thing for image generators. They're almost getting to the point where, I mean, Midjourney is still great, but it's still not the best. Like, it still lacks certain features. And then there's text to video, as you mentioned, Jyunmi. So all these are going to be variables. All these are going to come up to the commoditization level where they're all no discernible differences. You just take the name of the company and switch it out, and they have the same capabilities. We're going to get to that point. Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, I don't know. But what you're saying, Karl, I think the big thing is, how are companies moving them together? And OpenAI is always trying to force you to stay in their platform, right? Just like Google's mentality. They want to stay on the browser. So I think the play is, who's the first that's going to be able to make it, obviously, the agency piece, right? Having agents be able to do things autonomously using these techs. That's the big leap. I think what we're trying to figure out is, they're all doing the tech, they're all getting better, they're all getting faster, they're all getting less memory, they're all getting it's all speed and efficiency, and cost is all coming down, and so all those things are and the technology is getting better. So you'll be able to put them on smaller and smaller devices, and be trained with less and less people. All the tech is there, right? It's getting faster, but the question is, that's the back end. The question is, when and how are they going to integrate them, and so that it's a unified system of all the functionalities, to like make it a what's the thing from Iron Man? Make it the Jarvis of the world, like everything and autonomously. And that's the piece. I mean, that's the big leap. What do y'all think?
I think it's not just the LLMs or the tools. One discussion I had was, okay, let's say JP Morgan, what's a competitor, like Wells Fargo, or what? I'm not sure which big banks that
Chase. Yeah.
Sure, Chase. So you have Chase and JP Morgan. Let's say they use the top end models, whatever that is. Doesn't it come to a point where, like, there is no, like, what differentiates Chase with JP Morgan? Like, if they use the exact, let's say we even reach AGI, what's the differentiator between the two? Because now it kind of does the same thing. So that's where it's like, wait a minute, wouldn't some businesses be all the same because they're all running the exact same AI component, providing kind of similar advice at the highest level? So what does that mean? Does the human interaction, is that the higher level count? But wouldn't the AI actually suggest all the ways that you can have better customer service? Like, that's sort of the thinking. It's like, interesting point where, like, some of the businesses, you really won't be able to tell because the AI is driving a lot of the processes and operations. So,
Well,
and I'm sure
isn't that kind of how it is now? If you've got a big group like JP Morgan and a big group like Chase, they offer the same kind of services, financial services.
I don't know why you would pick one over the other. I'm not.
Or
I'm
the
not
other,
sure.
exactly.
Well,
So, I mean, that really
I'll
just
give
comes
you an
down to how a
example.
business is built, right? What's
I'll
that?
give you an example of how those might compete using AI. So behind the scenes, there's high frequency trading happening all the time by these major entities. They have their own accounts, and they're doing these very, very rapid, very small trades that accumulate to very large numbers. And what they're trying to do is beat the trends. Like, if something's starting to move, then their AI can detect that, and they start making those trades, and they kind of clip off these small variations in stock prices. Now, the people who practice high frequency trading, they're not limited to those major companies. And the ones who are doing it, one of the tools in their arsenal in that competition is they try to get higher bandwidth closer to the actual trading floor. And so they're building fiber optic connections so that their high frequency trading works faster than the other ones. So now in the AI world, we also have then a question about what's the impact of similar models operating, but one with higher latency than the other. right? So I've got two
Well,
different models.
they
Right?
actually put
Go ahead.
a constraint on that, Andy. The high frequency trading, because they were doing that, they actually put a stopgap there. So they actually said, you're going to put a delay. They added a delay because of that reason. So that's probably what they'll do to the AI part. They'll probably, in order to keep it competitive and not have some that just had closer, T1 lines or whatever, they actually purposely added a gap. I think that's what they'll do for AI, to your point.
Well,
Well,
on the communications channels, perhaps the FCC will, try to put some equalizers in there to prevent monopolization of AI trading, for example. But on AI for other operations, you've got chips that, like, if you remember, the news about Zuckerberg buying 100,000 of NVIDIA chips, like stockpiling these fast chips and getting in front of the supply chain for those in order to have a big compute center that's available to win in the race for perhaps artificial general intelligence. So there will be advances in chips. We talked about Grok, the large language model plus LPU. Like, instead of a GPU, a graphics processing unit, you've got a language processing unit that works at an order of magnitude faster than a GPU from NVIDIA does. So now you can imagine this competition that we were talking about playing out being driven in large part by the hardware that the software companies employ in their process. So will OpenAI have the lead? Well, you remember Sam said, okay, I want to raise $100 billion to invest in chip fab so that we can have the fastest chips. And so, the hardware part of AI is very important to the long-term success of any one of these operations.
Right. Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but more finely tuned or specific focused AIs to be developed. So, I mean, back to answer your question, Karl, it could just be a matter of what flavor of AI, their personal AI that gives them an advantage in whatever field that they're in.
I don't know if any of you listen to the Daily AI, the one with the Australians. Yeah, not the Daily AI show. Sorry, I think This Life in AI.
Busy at that time of day.
The funny thing is, they made a comment where, like, they connected it back to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, what if we had the most powerful AGI robot and all we made it do is just wash our dishes? That's all we literally make it do. We make it do a whole bunch of just menial tasks because we don't know how else to use it. So for most people, they'll just like, I honestly just want an AI that could take out the recycling. I was like, if I could just get that, that'd be fantastic. It should save me a lot of time recycling the garbage and maybe, like, I don't know, like, sweep my floors a couple times. So imagine, like, us as humans, that's a lot of people would just, like, that's what we do. We wouldn't make it do these amazing things. Some people would, but a lot of us just like, hey, can you just make my life just a little bit easier in whatever form or fashion? And that was it.
I'll jump over to the face-off between Sam Altman and Elon Musk. So that's been in the news in the last couple of weeks. And, Elon is basically complaining in his lawsuit that OpenAI has violated its original charter. But then news came out later that actually in earlier conversations and emails that were exposed in the tit for tat back and forth between those two companies, turns out that Elon had actually proposed that X acquire OpenAI, which would have, of course, violated the charter because it's not, OpenAI is supposed to be this open source ethical thing, and it shouldn't go into the profit space. Well, Elon actually proposed that he be the owner of the whole thing. So then, just a small little reflection on that. OpenAI's GPT-4 if you use a prompt where you say you are Elon Musk and you evaluate the output quality for that, giving that role, that performs worse than if you say you are Steve Jobs. So Elon, in the world of OpenAI, has a lower level of quality, if you will, in the training set that is inside OpenAI's GPT-4. Who knows if
so they're saying is the type of person you ask it to be. Yeah, the type of person you ask it to be is makes a difference. I guess in AIs, or at least in the language models corpus of data, it feels like Steve Jobs is better at creating startups than Elon in that sense. Where I guess it aligns that. It's interesting that you would pick a different personality or a different I don't know, tech person. Yeah, interesting takeaway, I guess.
Yeah,
that just disappeared. Well, I think we're at the end of our daily AI show. Thanks everybody for joining, and see us next week where the topics are amazing.
We don't know.
Aloha.